Hey there, welcome back to another video. This time around, it is my review of the 2000 science fiction animated film, Titan A.E. Now, before I get around to sharing more of my thoughts on this film, I would like to give a special shout out to Sean for requesting this review. And if there's another film, TV show, or topic that you would like to see me discuss in the future, feel free to donate to either my PayPal or to my Patreon, and I will try to get to your request as soon as I possibly can. If you're interested in either one, the link is in the video description down below. Now, Titan A.E. is one of those films that I've honestly been curious about for a long time, but it just fell in between the cracks over the years and I've forgotten about it. I do remember reading the novelization at least once, and I guess it didn't really leave that much of an impression on me because I never really tried to seek out the film. But after seeing the movie for the first time fairly recently, I loved it. I thought it was terrific. And I honestly wish that I saw the film in the theater back in the day, because I think it would have been a film that I really would have loved as a young adult, because it has that Last Starfighter sort of quality, and I grew up with that movie, and I love that film. And you got the Star Wars elements, you got a lot of elements when it comes to the story and what ultimately winds up on screen in terms of the action and the characters, that is honestly right up my alley, and is the kind of science fiction storytelling that I genuinely liked back then, and I still really like to this day. You know, stuff like Farscape and so on. And it's a shame in so many different ways that this film didn't take off in 2000, because it not only was a financial failure that cost the studio 20th Century Fox at least $100 million, and that's not counting the massive losses that they probably got when it comes to flagging toy sales and all this other stuff in terms of merchandising. That might be another 100 million or more. It completely shuttered an entire animation studio in 20th Century Animation, 20th Century Fox Animation. Uh, they had done some brilliant work previously with Anastasia, which still features some of the most visually stunning animation of the 90s, if not ever. And they were tasked with this project and getting it off the ground. And they did a remarkable job with this film, too. Just when it comes to the sheer visuals and the spectacle of it. And nope, all that hard work was not necessarily completely for naught, but it didn't lead to a renaissance of sorts for that studio. It didn't lead the studio to continue to make more of these movies going forward. It sucks. It's just a bummer when you think about it. And also when you consider that it's the last animated film that Don Bluth did. He was so disillusioned, so upset, so disappointed by the film's reception and the studio and how they handled the project and probably dealt with him, that he just decided to say, I'm done. And he's been trying to get Dragon's Lair, a new take on Dragon's Lair, off the ground, but it hasn't really gotten anywhere. So this could very well wind up being the last product from Don Bluth and possibly Gary Goldman. I don't know if he did anything after this or not. I'm not 100% sure, but I do know that Don Bluth, this was it, and this could be it. This could have been his. This could honestly wind up being his swan song. And if you ask me, if this winds up being his last contribution to the realm of animation, he went out with a bang. He didn't go out with a whimper, despite the mixed reception of the film critically or the box office receipts. I genuinely feel he went out with a bang because I think this is right up there with some of his best work. And in some ways, when it comes to the sheer difficulty of directing this film and what he had to put into it, it could honestly be his most impressive work of his career and Gary Goldman's career. The two of them are a dynamic duo yet again when it comes to this movie. Don Bluth and Gary Goldman. I just loved their direction when it comes to this movie. The way that they shot the various different chase scenes taking place in space, the spacecrafts, just the way that things are shot is just very fluid and kinetic and just really exciting to watch. Does a great job putting you right in the action and does a great job showcasing the beauty of the animation, of the designs, and really just putting you inside this unique and just wonderful science fiction landscape of animation. To see a big budget sci-fi animated epic in the vein of Star Wars or some of these other properties with these two at the helm was something special. It was something genuinely awesome and awe-inspiring at times. And I'm not exaggerating here. This isn't hyperbole. Like this is me being honest. Like this is genuinely awe-inspiring at times when it comes to the animation. How they mix together traditional animation, with cell animation or hand-drawn animation with CGI. Even for a film from 2000, the way that things are blended together is almost seamless and it's incredible. And it really does seem like there are ways of animation that are still utilized this to this day that were implemented, or you could say finely tuned, or at least tuned with Titan A.E. And no pun intended either with the tune thing. It's like, a little tune up. Like, hey, there's other films that have kind of done this kind of thing, mixing uh, cell animation with CGI, and other films that have used animation and used directing techniques in a way that is just completely and totally cinematic, but not necessarily in the same capacity as Titan A.E. I mean, the flying scenes of the spacecrafts, that sequence alone is just incredible. And there's just so many other scenes in this movie. Just, they genuinely leave me speechless at times because of just how wonderful they are in terms of the structure of the shot, the way that both directors use the camera, different POV shots with different camera angles and perspectives, and everything still has this very good flow to it, and it's not jumpy, and it's not something that looks a little sketchy or anything. No, everything just seems to just blend together just so well, and it's a genuine gem in a multitude of different ways, but it's definitely a gem when it comes to the visuals. I love the visual style of this movie. I love the animation. It was something that really did stand out to me in a really significant way. I mean, even the look of the dredge, the energy beings, even the way that that was done, I thought was really unique. And it's just a great film to watch, just to see the animation and to see the kind of blend of old and new styles that you just don't see nowadays anymore. You don't see films that blend in traditional cell animation with CGI. Like everything's CGI now. Everything looks like a Pixar clone. And I genuinely felt that you got the best of both worlds with Titan A.E. The script by Ben Edlund, John August, and Joss Whedon, based on a story by Hans Bauer and Randall McCormick. I think for the most part, it's really good. I think one of the few weaknesses the script does have is that the Dredge aren't really that memorable of a villain. They don't really have a lot of standout qualities. I do appreciate that they're ruthless when it comes to their plight to destroy humanity. There's this very animalistic quality to them, this viciousness, but they don't speak and there's really not much for you to connect with them on a deeper level as foes, let alone as a group or a society. So unlike some other iconic, memorable groups of aliens or enemies, the Dredge, other than a cool, unique look to them, they don't really have anything else going for them. So I think that's definitely something that kind of brings the script down a little bit. I know people have criticized the lead. I don't really think the lead is a problem. I don't think that Kale is a bad lead at all. In fact, I think Kale is a pretty strong lead. I like Kale. Um, I think he's every bit as strong as any other sort of Luke Skywalker archetype that has been done in animation or live action. And I like the crew that he tags along with. Um, Especially Akima. Really like the scenes with Kale and Akima. You genuinely do buy their connection with one another and their eventual romance, and the two have some good chemistry, and the script gives them a lot of good lines to play off of one another with. And I like Corso. I like how he's a complex character, how he does have an arc by the end where he's not just a traitor who becomes an antagonist. There's more to him than that. And I think having him be an antagonist in some ways definitely does make up a little bit for the Dredge just being kind of mediocre when it comes to their characterization, because you have Corso and you have Preed. So you have Preed and Corso who are still formidable when it comes to being foes for the heroes. And I like the other cast, the other crew members, sorry, Silith and uh, Goon, and I think those are the only other two. And I liked the backstory that the film built for Kale, that involves his father going on this mission, taking the Titan to some undisclosed location when they're being attacked by the Dredge and disappearing. And the plot is rather simple and kind of cliched, I will admit it. This uh lost orphan is grown up and he's thrown into this mission to not only save the universe but also find his father. And ultimately he does find his father, but his father is dead, but he still finds a way to reconcile with his father in the process and become a hero. In a lot of ways the whole plot is just Noah's Ark as well with the Titan, but I think it's a different enough twist on Noah's Ark that it still works for what it is, especially when it comes to using the force that is responsible for Kale losing his father and for Earth being destroyed being utilized as an energy source to start up the rise of Earth and mankind out of the ashes left behind due to Earth's destruction by the dredge. I like that idea a lot. I think creating a script that has that as a culminating factor and has the source of evil be the source of hope and salvation, I think is a really nice touch. And it's just got a good sense of humor to it as well in terms of dialogue, and there's a lot of action in this script. There's a lot of chases, there's a lot of sequences involving gunplay. There really isn't much of a dull moment, and there's a lot of variety in terms of the different sort of environments that the characters find themselves in, different planets, different colonies. So there is so much about this script that is spectacular, if you ask me. And a lot of people just wave it away as just being generic, and I think that's honestly uh, not giving it enough credit, especially when it comes to the characters and the dialogue and just the unique worlds and landscapes that people are uh, introduced to or are interacting with throughout the script. And I like that the climax does take place on the Titan, and it's one of those stories that, yeah, there are some cliched elements. Yeah, there are some things that you've kind of seen done before, but there's enough twists and there's enough spins on things that it still feels like its own story. It doesn't feel like I'm just watching A New Hope again, like something like The Force Awakens. You know, you still feel like you're watching Titan A.E. You're not watching some other sci-fi film or sci-fi story. And it's like one of the last films that kids could technically watch that wasn't talking down to them. It wasn't sugarcoating things to the point where it just has no bite, no edge whatsoever. Wasn't dumbing things down just because it's a kids movie, which that's another aspect of the script I really appreciated, is that it actually went to certain places in terms of the subtext or the commentary or the science that was easy to follow, but it wasn't, for dummies. I did appreciate that a lot. Another thing I really appreciated was the cast. You have a lot of people who are doing voiceover work for the first time, but man, it seems like they got comfortable real quick and delivered some really natural, strong voiceover work. Matt Damon as Kale, he successfully was able to translate and transfer his inherent charisma to the voiceover. It made Kale a charming, fun character. Bill Pullman as Corso, even though at times it sounds like he's just Kurt Russell, which apparently Kurt was considered to voice Corso, but they went with Bill Pullman. Part of me would have liked to have seen what Kurt Russell would have done if he voiced Corso. I think he would have nailed it. But Bill Pullman still did a really great job as that character. You get the Lone Star vibes a little bit at times too, which was fun. I liked that a lot. Having Bill Pullman kind of, in a way, be Lone Star again, and this time Lone Star with a little more complex nuances. Uh, he was equally as strong when it comes to him being the captain who's sort of a new father figure for Kale, as well as being an antagonist. Like, he nailed both aspects of that character. And the rest of the cast was good too. I mean, John Leguizamo, he had never done voice acting apparently, and he played Goon, the amphibian scientist, a navigator, and it was like he had been doing animation for his entire life. Like, I didn't even know it was John Leguizamo at first. I thought it was just like Jim Cummings or some other, well-known animation voice actor who was just playing that role. Until I heard a little bit of Leguizamo at one point, and then I was like, "Is that John Leguizamo?" And then I saw the credits. And I'm like, "It is." All right. Nathan Lane, of course, he's an established veteran because of his work for Disney. He played Preed. It's honestly one of my favorite voiceover roles for Nathan Lane, because he plays a character that's dastardly and evil and bad guy, and that's not normally what Nathan Lane does. And he showed a lot of range voicing this character, and at times I was actually kind of intimidated by Nathan Lane. And normally I wouldn't say that. I mean, he's from the Lion King. He's in the Birdcage. The producers. He's that kind of actor and personality. But he played a good, sinister, genuinely evil first mate character. Uh, Janeane Garofalo, another good performance as Stith, who is this heavy kind of character. She's a kangaroo type alien who's a munitions officer, and so she's got this gruff personality, but she didn't do it in a way where it came across as like bitchy or likable. Uh, Drew Barrymore, I thought she was great. I thought she was awesome as Akima. That's honestly one of my favorite Drew Barrymore roles, is her voicing this character. I love this character. I thought this character was cool, was sexy, but also very resourceful. Uh, had other nuances to the character that weren't just, oh hey, I'm the hot space babe. Like, there was more to her than that. And I really liked the chemistry between her and Matt Damon. Ron Perlman, he was fine. Little role that he had as Kale's father. Tone Loc was good too, as the alien friend Tech who raises Kale after Sam left to develop, or to finish Project Titan. Jim Brewer's even not that annoying as a cook, as this cockroach alien type who works at a cafeteria. Jim Cummings. Speaking of Jim Cummings, he actually voices a character named Chow Quinn at the Salvage Yard. Charles Rocket from the infamously terrible sixth season of SNL. He voices a couple characters in this. Does some good work. So, yeah. You even also have Roger Jackson as the first alien. Uh, yeah, one of the first aliens that you see in the movie. And Roger Jackson, you might recognize that name. He's Ghostface. He's the voice of Ghostface. So you have Drew Barrymore, who's voicing Akima, and you have Roger Jackson, Ghostface himself, voicing an alien in the film. The movie also features some really excellent editing by Bob Bender, Paul Martin Smith, and Fiona Trailer, especially when it comes to the action sequences or the different flying scenes. Um, the way the film was edited was just top notch. It really did add so much extra thrills and excitement to the action in the film, and also made the moments that were supposed to be eye candy all the more spectacular. Uh, it was like I was watching a professional, high quality, high grade music video at times. Like it was that well done. And speaking of music video, the film does feature a solid and a genuinely good score by Graham Revell. Not one of my favorite scores from him, but a score that still works with the movie. But the majority of the music in this is stuff from the soundtrack, and this is one hell of a soundtrack. Like I thought this soundtrack just elevated this film to like an even higher level. It elevated it to an entire different galaxy because of its inclusion in the film. Just so many really great, fun tracks. My personal favorite is Cosmic Castaway by Electricity, and also like It's My Turn to Fly by The Urge. The End Is Over by Power Man 5000. There's just a lot of really great tracks in this soundtrack, and just adds another element to the film that just makes it more unique. And it's got a great pace to it. It's not that long. It's like 94 minutes. That's with the end credits. You take out the end credits, it's even shorter. So it's a really fast paced, fun, rollicking ride of epic science fiction animation. It genuinely is. And the fact that everyone involved with this had to start from scratch after the studio spent $30 million with a different director for 18 months. What they accomplished is absolutely stunning if you really think about the context. And I think a lot of people, they don't know that context. So they just kind of they buff this film off, or they just act like it's just a failure because it didn't do well financially and it caused 20th Century Fox Animation to close down. And I think that's selling this film way too short, and the people involved with this film too short, because they had an unbelievable titanic task to begin with. And then you throw in the fact that they wound up completing this and doing all this work only for the studio, who they thought had their back, turn their back on them because of an ownership change. And now the new person in charge doesn't like the project, doesn't have any faith in it. So the film never has a chance. It never has a chance to fly. It's grounded before it even, gets to the point where it has an opportunity to lift off. It's like, it's like it just has the engines shut down, or they cut the wires and it won't start because Fox themselves killed Titan A.E. It wasn't the film itself that ultimately caused the whole project to implode. It's not Titan A.E., if you ask me, that caused the animation studio to close down. It's Fox. Fox themselves killed the animation studio by killing Titan A.E. And I think, it's also one of those things where Titan A.E., I think, was just too ahead of its time in terms of its storytelling. I mean, you see some elements of something like Firefly at times in this as well. And Firefly also didn't do well. It became a cult hit, but it didn't do well. People sometimes forget that show didn't do well, and that was a Fox property as well. But and Fox didn't give that show a proper chance either because it aired episodes out of order. But Titan A.E. was an animated film. It was a mix of CGI and traditional animation. It was not necessarily geared totally for kids, but because it was animation, I think people had the wrong first impression of the movie. The lack of advertising did not do it any favors, and it just wound up kind of being the same sort of thing as the Iron Giant. The Iron Giant nowadays is considered to be a classic, but that didn't do well either when it came out, and it just started to get a newfound appreciation years later. I think you're starting to see that with Titan A.E as well, and I think that's something that is really nice to see because I really liked this film. And it's just after like one watch. It's already up there on my list of favorite animated movies. I will take Titan A.E any day over what we see nowadays with Illumination or with Disney. Like, come on. Titan A.E runs circles around crap like Sing 2 or 3 or those Despicable Me movies or Disney's Wish or Strange World or whatever the hell that movie was called. Like, or Turning Red. Like, Titan A.E is a tremendous film on in its own right, and in comparison to what we have now, it's so much better. Like, I think the only thing holding it back from being a masterpiece to me is just stronger villains. Like the Dredge just being a little bit more interesting, or having some more nuances or layers to them. Other than that, I think this film is great, and I highly recommend it. It's a damn shame that really lazy, pathetic, lame films that came out in the year 2000 that aren't anywhere near as good as this or as unique made more money in the end. I mean, the Flintstones in Viva Rock Vegas was a bomb, but it wasn't as big of a bomb as this was, because that movie made more in the box office than Titan A.E. And that's just sad. And it's also sad that this film doesn't have an official Blu-ray or a 4K. I would love to see this get a 4K release. I think this film with the proper remaster in 4K would be astounding. But, I'll take this fan-made Blu-ray. It's better than nothing. But this film deserves better, and it's got a cult following now. Like, if you follow the internet, you look at other reviews of the movie, some people, they think the film sucks and to each their own, but there's a lot of other reviews that are praising the film online, and rightfully so if you ask me. I think it's one of the best films of the 2000s, and definitely one of the better animated films of the 2000s. And just one of the better animated films, period, especially in the science fiction animation genre. Um, but yeah, I honestly give it a high recommendation. Like, check this one out. If you haven't seen this yet, give it a shot. It's definitely worth it. But anyway, thanks for watching my review of Titan A.E. And until next time, I'll see you later. See ya.